The night train hummed along the tracks, a rhythmic lullaby resonating through the velvet-lined corridors of the VIP cabin. Beyond the grand windows, the world outside blurred into a cascade of moonlit shadows, distant lights flickering like whispers. Inside, golden sconces bathed the space in a soft, intimate glow, illuminating the delicate curves of crystal glasses, the shimmer of silk, and the quiet tension in the air. 3 women occupied the private cabin, their reflections mingling on the polished glass. The writer, elegant and composed, traced absent-minded patterns along the rim of her glass, thoughts tangled between past and present. Across from her, the traveler, a woman with laughter in her eyes, leaned back against the plush seating, watching the shifting scenery with a gaze that carried unspoken words. Between them, the train attendant poised, her uniform pristine moved with practiced ease, yet her glances lingered a second too long. The clink of crystal disrupted the silence as the traveler raised her glass in a toast. To fleeting moments, and the ones we wish would last, she murmured. The writer met her gaze, a smile playing at the edges of her lips, while the attendant hesitated briefly before lifting her own glass, her fingers brushing against the writer's in the dim light. A fleeting touch barely there yet electric in its significance. Conversation meandered through the night, weaving through half-truths and secrets, their voices hushed. The writer noted the way the attendant's gaze flickered between them, questioning. The traveler, bold and unrestrained, let her laughter fill the space, though her glances at the writer spoke of something softer, unsaid. A sudden sway of the train sent the attendant stumbling forward, her hands finding purchase on the writer's shoulders, their faces inches apart. A sharp inhale hesitation, anticipation. The traveler, watching, smirked knowingly, understanding the gravity of what simmered beneath restraint. The writer exhaled, slow and measured, before tucking a loose strand of hair behind the attendant's ear. "Careful," she murmured, her voice an invitation. The night deepened, and time unraveled between stolen glances, fingers tracing uncertainty, and the weight of a head resting against a shoulder. The air carried the scent of aged wine and something more warm, intoxicating, impossibly fragile. Somewhere in the vast stretch of night, 3 hearts found themselves tethered not by destination, nor by time, but by the lingering promise of something unspoken, something that could only exist in the hush of a midnight journey. The hush deepened. The hours stretched long, filled with the weight of what could be and what would never be spoken aloud. The traveler leaned closer, tracing absent patterns on the velvet seat beside her, mapping the invisible ties between them. The writer's gaze lingered on her, the moonlight softening sharp edges, making her momentarily unguarded. The attendant glanced between them with something unreadable flickering in her eyes, understanding, perhaps, or a question left unanswered. A sudden laugh broke the quiet tension. The traveler's voice husky with wine. "We should play a game," she suggested, her lips curving into a challenge. "A question for a truth, no holding back." The writer arched a brow. "And if we refuse to answer, then we drink?" The attendant supplied with a small smile. Simple enough. The game began, weaving through truths both light-hearted and dangerous. Each question peeled back another layer. The traveler's gaze darkened when she asked the writer, "Have you ever longed for something you knew you couldn't have?" The writer hesitated, fingers tightening around her glass before she took a slow sip, choosing silence over confession. The train continued its midnight journey, the rhythmic swaying lulling them further into a dreamlike haze. At some point, the writer's hand found the travelers, their fingers tangling together in quiet acknowledgement. The attendant watched, breath catching as she reached out, bridging the space between them. A touch, a silent agreement, and suddenly the air was thick with possibility. Dawn would come eventually, bringing the stark clarity of daylight. But for now, under the golden glow of the cabin, their world remained suspended in that singular moment, three hearts bound by the unspoken, by hands finding each other in the dark, and the quiet promise of a night that would never quite end.